There is too many car brands in China. There's too many car brands in the world. Many car brand CEOs and analysts have said lots of them are going to go bankrupt. And well, they were right. Already this year, I reported on 2 bankruptcies of major famous Chinese electric car brands. Now, there is around 90 EV brands still in China. It's ridiculous. That number needs to be shrunk down to no more than about 10 to 15. Otherwise, they just can't succeed and they'll have to keep making a loss. Eventually, the money runs out and they go bankrupt, as has yet another Chinese car company, or in fact, they haven't yet, but they're about to. They've stopped paying the wages of their employees. This is the story and this is what's happening. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. Great to have you with us. And I want to say a big thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you can support us on Patreon, that'd be fantastic. It allows me to keep making videos. I'll put a link in the description below. Another Chinese manufacturer apparently is about to go bankrupt, as reported by several Chinese news outlets, including Car News China. Now, reports have emerged that the car brand Yanheng, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but they are an EV brand owned by a famous name called Dayun. They are in trouble. They apparently have stopped paying staff, and staff have been fired. Staff have just left. Like, staff have literally just gotten up and walked out. There's apparently only a dozen employees left, 12 employees. The company's responded to this and they've kind of admitted there's some truth to these claims, and they've also said, the executives are all fine, they're all doing their jobs as usual. Right, okay. According to employees in the R&D department, in the chassis section, staff are leaving, just walking out of the job, not getting paid. They're owed lots of money, and there's very few staff left at this company. This kind of makes sense, guys. I mean, BYD, obviously, how are they selling? Well, apparently they're about to deliver 500,000 cars in October, right? Most of those are in China. So a lot of the sales success of BYD is coming at the expense of these small car manufacturers. And to be honest, I'm not making an ethical point here. I'm just saying it's a point. It's true. It's objective. It's factual, right? One company succeeds, others have to fail. And the big ones will succeed, and the smaller ones, like this company, will go bankrupt. So if you're putting your money on these small companies, like if you're putting your money on Lucid, well, you're playing a very dangerous game. I mean, for example, Lucid, similar sort of situation, right? Their stock price has fallen 44% this year. But that's from after having fallen 90% in previous years as well. So very risky to kind of say you're going to pick the next Tesla. I've spoken to people in person who are like, mate, you got to get on this car company. I've been looking at them. They're really good. I'm going to go invest in this car company. They're the next Tesla, I'm telling you. I'm like, no, mate, they're not. There's only one Tesla. There's only one BYD. And if you think you're going to outsmart everyone else, there's a good chance you're not. So very, very risky to get invested in these small companies. What happens, right? They have these IPOs, VinFast IPO, right? How much money do people lose on that? Lucid IPO, how much money do people lose on that? Rivian IPO, how much money do people lose on that? I can name these. I can go on until the cows come home about how much money people have lost getting excited in the next Fisker. Let that sink in. Insiders are reporting that Yanheng is experiencing major cash flow problems and is looking for financing from the local government and other potential investors. Now, there is no chance that's going to happen. And the reason I say that, think about the other Chinese car brand that went bankrupt this year, the famous luxury car brand. They actually sell cars outside of China. They're actually good. Their cars are considered world class. They're on CarWow. Millions of people know of their existence of this car brand, right? They actually were selling vehicles. They were selling more expensive EVs than Porsche and BMW put together, more in the premium section than both of those companies put together, and still they went bankrupt. They tried to get funding from the so-called other potential investors. It didn't come. This automobile company has responded to the story, saying that the company is undergoing strategic adjustment and reorganization. Sounds like Fisker right before the lights were turned off. Currently, it is in a transitional phase and will resume normal operations once the reorganization is complete. The brand further emphasized that due to being part of the Dayun Group, which is a big conglomerate, a little bit like what other car brand went bankrupt this year, right? Evergrande. Yes, Evergrande went, lights turn off there, too big to fail, right? Worth hundreds of billions of dollars, too big to fail, but they did. So the Diane Group, doesn't matter if they're really big, there's a good chance they're going to fail as well. Anyhow, that group goes back to 1987, and they have until recently been involved in producing commercial vehicles and motorcycles. They make a lot of electric cars. Well, they didn't until recently. Here are the numbers, right? Sales in the first 9 months of this year were a total of 5,584. 5,584. Now, they don't make cheap EVs. They're actually pretty good. The price starts at $42,000 for the cheapest version, up to $70,000. They use quality parts from Huawei, from Bosch, different tier 1 manufacturers apparently. But the truth is, that doesn't matter. There are car brands, I'm telling you now, big ones that you know of in China, you think they're too big to fail, many of them will. They will have to be bought up or join with other car companies or maybe saved by someone else. But there will be many bankruptcies in this sector over the next 15 years. Bankruptcies will accelerate because the pie will shrink. There's so many players now, and the car sales pie, it's not getting bigger, it's getting smaller.